Who else is gonna give you a broken arrow? Who else is gonna give you a bottle of rain? Here he comes, moving across the water. There he goes, moving my whole world around. Who's gonna give you a broken arrow? Who else is gonna give you a bottle of rain? Here he comes, moving across the water. There he goes, moving my whole world around. If anybody knew about broken arrows, it would certainly have been Isaiah, the prophet, because Isaiah was living at a time when his whole world seemed to be broken and torn down. Isaiah lived at a time when the temple, which was the place where God lived, was destroyed and lay in ruins. And so Isaiah lived at a time when he was searching for meaning and purpose for himself, and also purpose for the whole of Israel, God's chosen people. If anybody knew about brokenness, it would have been Isaiah, whose people were captive, who were led in exile, whose people wondered how they had become so broken. And now how were they going to be light in the world? And so for Isaiah's time as a prophet, living through political alliances and promises and disappointments, living through all of that, he hears a word of discernment. He hears a word that God speaks to him. And God says, listen, you coastlands, listen, you people from far away. Before you were born, I named you. While you were still in your mother's womb, I called you. In the shelter of God's hand, God hid me. God made me a polished arrow. God hid me in God's quiver. I was called to heal Israel, but it was too small a thing. God said, I call you to be light. I call you to be light to the nations, so that my hope may be their hope. God spoke this word in the midst of the mess to Isaiah, who then shared it with the people who were looking for purpose and meaning for their own lives as well. I was thinking about purpose and was reminded of something Tertullian said. I don't know how many of you know who Tertullian is, but he was one of the... You know who Tertullian is, don't you, Pat? Come on. I thought you did. You were nodding like you knew who Tertullian was. And I know how smart you are, so I thought for sure. Well, it's always good when people don't know, because then I can say whatever. Tertullian was one of the early church theologians, early church fathers. And one of my favorite quotes from Tertullian is that he said, there are two important dates in a person's life. Can you tell me what you think those might be? Birth and taxes? Close. You've got one right. Tertullian said, the two most important times in a person's life is the day they were born and the day they discover their purpose. The day they discover their purpose. And it's interesting to think about purpose for our lives. And we recognize people that live enlightened lives. We know people that seem to be living on purpose with their lives. We recognize them. We see them. We gravitate towards them. They seem to be lit up when we discover them.